Hello, I'm Kikutani. Today's topic is conditions for relationships. Why do some people stay in your life for long but not others? Today I'd like to talk about conditions for relationships. I have received a question today. We come together when conditions bring us together, and part when conditions separate us. Master Shinran. Our parents, grandparents, siblings, lovers, husbands, wives, children, friends, bosses, subordinates. We met these people because we had the conditions for us to meet. Some of these people may have already left our lives, but that is also because we had the conditions for us to be separated. The questioner wants to know a little bit more about what this means. I posted this quote on Twitter and Instagram. So he saw it on there and became interested in learning more about it. We come together when conditions bring us together, and part when conditions separate us. These are the words of Master Shinran and Tannisho. Today I would like to talk about what it means to have relationships and encounters with people, and what exactly a condition is. I believe that after watching this video, you will understand the importance of conditions. And if you understand the importance of conditions, it can help you to change your life for the better, so I hope you'll watch till the end. I will talk about these 3 points. First, animate and inanimate conditions. Second, were a husband and a wife enemies a long time ago? Third, Shingyobo. Buddhism teaches that we live our lives based on animate and inanimate conditions. Animate conditions include living things that have a mind, such as parents, school teachers, doctors, friends as well as animals. We live our lives while being supported by many people, in other words, by animate conditions. Inanimate conditions mean things without a mind, such as air, water, soil and other natural resources. Our lives are supported by them. So Buddhism teaches that our lives are supported by both animate and inanimate conditions. Let's say there is a dandelion on a roadside. Even in a city like this dandelion blooms vigorously from a tiny crack in the asphalt. Why did this dandelion bloom? The dandelion bloomed on this roadside because there was a seed, of course. The seed fell there and this dandelion grew out of it. Dandelions don't suddenly grow out of nothing. There is always a cause for every result. The cause was that the dandelion seed was there. Then why was the dandelion seed there? Dandelion fluff from a plant that grew the previous year floated in the wind, and fell onto this small patch of soil. Of course, if the seed is here, that means that it came here the year before on the wind. Then why was a dandelion from the year before growing here? It's because there was a seed here. And why was the seed here? It's because the seed came the year before then. It goes on and on like this. So this single, common dandelion by the side of the road has a long past and history, and is now blooming here. It is all connected by cause and effect relationships. I think you can see that it didn't just happen out of nowhere. So, is the seed the only thing needed for a dandelion flower to bloom? No. It needed nutrients in the soil, it had to rain, the wind had to blow so the seed could be carried here, and the temperature had to be right. So, the dandelion was created here through a variety of natural processes. If anything had been a bit different, there wouldn't have been a dandelion here. If it had been cold like in the tundra, or hot like in the equatorial tropics, it wouldn't have bloomed. With the right combination of latitude, longitude, temperature, rain, wind and all the other natural elements, a dandelion blooms. So we could say that this one dandelion flower bloomed, due to the conditions of the whole universe. This is known as the law of cause and effect in Buddhism. The Buddha taught that everything in this world is brought about through cause and condition. The dandelion flower bloomed here because of a succession of seeds from an endless, distant past. The seed, together with wind, soil, sunlight, and various other environmental factors, all came together to produce the dandelion flower here. This is how the Buddhist law of cause and effect works. So we can say that this dandelion flower is blooming due to a variety of conditions. This goes for us too. For example, I went to a cafe to have a coffee and a sandwich this morning. If you think about it, I was eating that sandwich due to a variety of animate and inanimate conditions. When you drink coffee, you need coffee beans. Coffee beans are imported from places like Brazil or Africa, not made in Japan. And they come all the way here on a container ship. A lot of different people handle and transport them, and then they're roasted here in the shop. Also, the bread for the sandwich is made from wheat. So wheat farmers produce the wheat. The ham is from pork. So, pig farmers produced it. Lettuce was grown by people in a field. And for other things like mayonnaise, I need eggs. Then I need people to raise chickens. So if we trace it backwards, we see that it is only with the help of all these people that I was able to eat this sandwich. If I were told to make all this by myself, I could not do it no matter how much time I spent on it, but I can eat it without all that effort. This is all possible, thanks to both animate and inanimate conditions. Everything we do is made possible due to conditions. Just looking at the meal I had, we are made aware how much we are supported in life by conditions. Among all the conditions, these people are the ones that have a particularly big influence on our lives. Parents, grandparents, siblings, lovers, husband, wife, children, friends, bosses, subordinates. These people are conditions that have a big influence on the happiness and unhappiness of our lives. Buddhism teaches that the conditions to meet these people are extraordinary deep bonds. There's an old saying that goes, even brushing sleeves shows a bond from many lifetimes. In the old days of Japan, people wore kimono and their sleeves would sometimes touch each other as they passed each other. This saying means that because you had the conditions to meet these people in your past lives, you have the condition for your sleeves touching theirs in this life too. So, sleeves won't touch each other in this life, unless there are profound causes and conditions from past lives. Indeed, out of 8 billion human beings, most of us will never meet, never see each other, and never hear each other's voices. In our 80 to 100 years of life, we will meet or brush past only a small proportion of people. Sleeves touching each other is like shoulders touching each other on a train. We have the condition for our shoulders touching each other, because there were deep conditions from our past lives. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been born and lived in the same country, at the same time, let alone have our shoulders touch each other. That's how much of a profound condition we have, even if our sleeves are just touching each other. And Buddhism teaches that it is not possible to become someone's husband, wife, parent, or child without a very profound cause and condition. It is often said that married couples were enemies in their previous lives. That is why it is said that in this life they will meet again and continue their quarrels. But I think there's a bit more to it than that. There is often dialogue like this in Japanese stories or plays. It's been 100 years since I met you last. The blind turtle and the floating log. The udumbara flower. Let's go. Fight me. It's a stock saying that is said when someone meets the enemy for the first time in a long time. The blind turtle and the floating log is something described in a Buddhist sutra. This means that something almost as unlikely as a blind turtle coming to the surface once every 100 years, and putting its head directly through a hole in a floating log has happened. The udumbara is a rare plant that only blooms once in thousands of years. So it wasn't easy to happen across enemies back then. To avenge the murder of his parents, one samurai spent years honing his swordsmanship and finally achieving mastery, then set off on a journey to avenge his parents. Rumor had it that the enemy was in Edo, so he set out for Edo, but he couldn't find him. Nowadays, if you do a search on social media, you might be able to find out their address and all sorts of things. But this was 200 to 300 years ago, and it was not so easy to find a single enemy in Japan. Finally, after years of traveling, they met, and this is what he said. It's been 100 years since I met you last. The blind turtle and the floating log. The udumbara flower. Let's go. Fight me. So finding a husband or wife is just like finding your enemy. In the sense that he lost sight of the enemy, searched for him, and finally found him. We can say that married couples are just like these two enemies. They have finally met, so they can't help but do or say something to each other and fight. Conditions are mysterious things. We meet a lot of people. There are people who somehow stay on your mind, but there are also people you can't even remember meeting. For example, in your primary school, junior high school and high school, you were probably classmates with a lot of people. You probably have someone in your life that you still see in your dreams, or you still think about from time to time. On the other hand, there are people whose names and faces you can't even match. So they didn't make a strong impression on you. The difference is likely just whether the conditions are profound enough to remember them. People with whom you have such a bond are those who influence your life. People you don't have this kind of bond with are those who you don't think about even if you're in the same class as them. Well, you never know what your conditions will bring you. You have the conditions to meet or remember not only people you like, but also people you don't like. People you can't help hating trigger an emotional reaction when you see them. They are also people you have the condition to meet. But those with whom you have no such bond are of no significance to you. Whether you're intensely attracted to someone or intensely hate them, it's because of a strong bond. For example, there are people who you somehow always see, or who are always on the same team with you, or who are always around when something bad happens. That's because you have the condition to be with them. If you get interested in someone, you may check their social media or something. You must have some conditional bond with them. We don't know what conditions we actually have. There are people you really like and can't help but want to get close to, but you can't because you don't have the condition to. On the other hand, there are people who you want to stay away from because you don't like them, but you have the condition to be with them. A condition is not something you can control. We come together when conditions bring us together, and part when conditions separate us. As Master Shinran says, if there is a condition, we get drawn to each other. Even if you say you don't like them, if there's a condition, they will come close to you. Parents are the one thing you can't stay away from. We resent, love, or miss our parents, children and spouses. It's all due to conditions. If you have the condition to leave someone, no matter how much you love them and want to be with them forever, you will have to leave them, and you will never see them again. This means that your condition to be with them has come to an end. We meet and leave many people due to such conditions. These are the conditions taught of in Buddhism. We come together when conditions bring us together, and part when conditions separate us. These words of Master Shinran are found in section 6 of Tannisho. I would like to talk a little about the context in which he said these words. When he was in Kyoto in his 60s, there was a disciple there, called Shingyobo. Shingyobo got angry and emotional about something, and left Master Shinran. He had studied as a disciple of Master Shinran for a long time. He might have had some issues with other disciples. Whatever the case, he felt like he couldn't stay there anymore, so he left Master Shinran. Human anger can be a frightening thing. When we get angry, we lose control of ourselves, and we don't know what we're doing. We might even cut off important relationships. Irreplaceable relationships can end up ruined. Shingyobo, in a moment of anger, lost his temper and left Master Shinran. Before that, he had received the name, Namu Amida Butsu, as the correct object of reverence from Master Shinran. Master Shinran personally wrote Namu Amida Butsu on scrolls for many of his disciples, and told them to use it as their object of reverence. Before then, wooden or painted images of Amida Buddha had been used as the object of reverence. But Master Shinran gave his disciples this name, and encouraged them to use that as their object of reverence. Shingyobo had also received a handwritten name as well as Master Shinran's books. He took them with him when he left. Knowing that he had taken this precious name and books that had been handwritten by Master Shinran, his other disciples said they had to take them back, but Master Shinran told them to let him go. That is expressed in the words of section 6 of Tannisho. This was when Master Shinran told them that his condition to be with Shingyobo had come to an end. Shingyobo had actually listened to Buddhism when Master Shinran was in the Kanto region, then followed Master Shinran to Kyoto when the master returned there in his 60s. So Shingyobo came all the way from the Kanto region to see Master Shinran, because he wanted to stay with him and listen to his teachings for the rest of his life. Back then, it took about a month to walk from the Kanto region to Kyoto. And since there were no laws in place like there are now, it would have been a life-threatening journey. Despite such hardships, he came all the way to Kyoto to hear Master Shinran's teachings. It's like moving from Japan to Brazil to see a teacher and hear his teachings in this present time. In fact, I think it was harder than that. Despite such difficulties, Shingyobo wanted to see Master Shinran and hear his teachings. So, he deeply admired Master Shinran. Master Shinran also cared about him, and gave him his own handwritten book so he could study with it. He was one of the disciples that Master Shinran cared about the most. Despite this deep bond between them, Shingyobo left him. The other disciples must have felt that he was such an ungrateful person. But Master Shinran told them this. These are deep and unforgettable words. This was written in section 6 of Tannisho by a disciple of Master Shinran, Uen. Parents, children, husbands, wives, friends, they are with you because there are the conditions for you to be with them. But you never know when you might suddenly find yourself separated from them due to some condition. I will cherish the relationships that I have now, and even if I am unexpectedly separated from them, it's important to know how to live with that afterwards. This story also teaches us a lesson in that regard. Today I talked about conditions based on the words found in Tannisho. Thank you very much for watching.